All right, listen, let's get started. Let's go around the country real quick and pick up as many, impressions of how Dumsor is affecting Ghanaians. We'll start in the Asante region, where recently the president was talking about Dumsor, and there was a demonstration the same day. Nana Boachi Yadom joins us. Nana, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kojo.
Now, we understand this thing is a national issue, but in Kumasi particularly, how has Dumsor presented itself? What are the effects that it's having on citizens?
Well, Kojo, in the Asante region or Kumasi, the past 3 years have been very, very worse. Come to think of the Dumsor situation is currently ongoing. Right after when the president commissioned the K1 TPP, a lot of people were expecting at least stable electricity for some time. But as I speak to you, the past 3 days, or right after the president commissioned the K1 TPP, the Dumsor situation has worsened. Myself, I'm a victim. I've not had light since yesterday, 5 p.m., and then this morning I still don't have light. So clearly the situation in the Asante region, Kumasi, is worse, just as it is everywhere.
So tell us, I mean, how long... How are people reacting to it? What are they calling for? Is it the same timetable, or are they demanding the lights back on?
Well,
right.
The ECG.
Right. We seem to have some difficulty with our connection to the Asante region. Maybe we want to quickly talk to Kofi Siam in the Eastern region,
sure.
Winston.
Yes, let's go to the Eastern region where Kofi Siam is. Kofi, good morning.
Good morning, Kojo.
So, Kofi, tell us, what's the situation in the Eastern region when it comes to the power situation?
Well, Kojo, I should say it's very bad. The situation is getting worse day by day. When you visit Koforidia Township, where I live, for instance, in a day, you could have about 5 to 10 power outages. And when the power is restored, the unfortunate thing is that if, for instance, it is restored at 6 p.m., in the next minute or two, you have the power being taken off by the ECG or GridCo. You have the ECG reporting to the residents through a press release that most of the incidents or the power outages are not coming from them, but from GridCo. But the residents who are affected by these outages do not bother where these outages are coming from. All they need is power to run their businesses, to run their domestic chores, and the other activities that they embark on. So if you ask me, I will say that in the Eastern region, the situation is very bad. And the residents say they want government to give them a timetable so that they can follow to plan their activities. Without the timetable, it will be very difficult for them to cope with the current power outages.
Thanks for that, Kofi. Kofi Siam is our Eastern Regional correspondent. I think we have Nana Boachi Yadom back on the line. Nana, so tell us, I mean, what is it that people seem to want more? Is it just to have the lights back on, or are they demanding a timetable?
Well, the demand now is a load shedding timetable. We want a load shedding timetable. They still want a stable electricity. In fact, just after the president commissioned K1 TPP, we don't have stable electricity. You're expecting the citizens to really question government. So they are calling for a load shedding timetable and a stable electricity. Businesses are really getting affected in the Ashanti region. Most of the barbering shops or the salons, you pass by and see them opened every morning. They've all closed up because there's no lights, especially in major parts of Kumasi. And so they are calling on the ECG and the Energy Ministry to at least heed to their calls of providing out a load shedding timetable and also maintain the electricity in a way that cannot really affect their businesses, because most of them would have to close up. You remember last week we found a report on how this erratic power cut is affecting washing days. They have to resort to the olden times of fetching water with plastic to come and wash people's cars for them. And it's still ongoing, even right after President commissioned K1 TPP. And so these are the questions people are asking. They are demanding the ECG to simply bring out a timetable so that they can know as and when the power is going off and when it is coming back on.
Right. Is there any unrest? Are there signs that there might be another demonstration?
Well, if after President commissioned the major plans here, there was a protest. So there are signs that if this thing continues, there will still be major protests to come up until the ECG would release a timetable or would have sustainable electricity.
Eric Asante joins us from the Central region. We've heard from the Ashanti and the Eastern regions. The general feeling is that the situation is getting worse by the day. Is this different from the Central region, Eric?
So Raymond, the situation in the Central region is not different from what my colleagues in the other regions have reported. The effect has put everyone off here. And for our discussion this morning, I want to look at the effect on education, because arguably the Central region is a hub when it comes to education. Most of the schools, especially the tertiary institutions, you monitored our Dumsor diaries. We took our microphones to the University of Education, Winneba, the University of Cape Coast, where students were writing examination. They were pleading with authorities to come out with a timetable, because writing examination and having to study in an unusual environment, they say, was quite dire for them as far as their academic is concerned. I visited the cold store industry in Mankesim and, of course, in the Kotugraba market. Raymond, they say they are losing their businesses due to Dumsor. They say they have to dispose of some cartons of stored fish because of the situation. They're also calling authorities to bring a timetable that would help them plan their routine activities. For the hotel and tourism industry, the Central region is more or less one of the contributors as far as GDP in the area of tourism. They say they are coming out from COVID-19 and they were thinking that the power will be on so that at the end of the day stay afloat. But Dumsor is making them over budget, or go beyond their budget. So the situation, like I did say, is not any different from what our reporters and my colleagues have reported from the other regions.
Now, we have actually had people give different reasons across the regions as to why the power situation is getting worse by the day. In your region, what is the ECG authorities there saying to you?
So Raymond, the ECG authorities are tight-lipped. They say it's a national concern. So anytime you go to them, they tell you you may have to monitor from what is coming from the national. So locally, no one has been told as to the reasons for the erratic power supply. But of course, they are all drawing inspiration from the fact that it's a nationwide problem. So, and they listen to the radios in Accra and assume that is the reason why the Central region specifically is also experiencing them. So for the local ECG and PRICO in the region, they are yet to communicate with regards to what actually is the reason for Central region specific.
There's this issue to do with how people react to this. In the Central region, what's the general feeling like? Are they up in arms? Are they just taking it like any other problem? Or they are extremely angry about the situation?
So Raymond, in the Central region, most people see Dumsor is not unprecedented, but their worry has to do with a timetable, because they say they've witnessed Dumsor before, and that came with a timetable. So, yes, they are worried. It has put everyone off gear, and they feel that it will be in the best interest of the stakeholders or the people in power to, as it were, let them know their fate, give them a timetable. So that is the general concern here in the Central region.
Thank you, Eric Asante, Central Regional Correspondent. Let's move up to the Northern region and talk to Martina Bugri. Zimcom, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
It's good to have you on the show. Now, listen, Martina, which particular sectors have been worst affected from all the interactions you've been having with people in the northern region? Which particular types of businesses or institutions and sectors have been affected the most by Dumsor?
I guess it's across, you can't just pinpoint any particular sector. But we will say that those who are in the cold store are the most because yes, once
right, we have to apologize. The signal is a bit weak. Let's see if we can clean that up and get back to Martina Bugri. But guys, you would have noticed that 2 of the regions have mentioned cold stores. In fact, 3 of them, because the Asante region also talked about it. And you can just imagine what it would mean if you are running such a business and the power is erratic. So, I mean, it's not even about whether or not you have a backup or whatever, but those gaps.
Yeah.
And while you are at home, because people don't sleep at the cold store.
Hours, yeah.
People don't sleep at the cold store. So while you're at home, if the lights go off and then you come back 8 hours later, what will you come and
the
meet?
Mankasim problem is a terrible one, actually.
Look, the thing about cold store, in fact, I mean, for those within that sector of the Ghanaian economy, it's a very difficult space in the first place. And watch this. So if you have if you have meat, for instance, even fish, and you keep them there, and the lights go off, and mind you, the lights go off, and the way the lights keep going off, on, off, on, off, on, and you're not careful, you actually would have your meat or fish going bad. And once they go bad, you'd have to replace them. But this is the point. You have not sold anything. Okay? So how do you actually start all over again? That's where the challenge is.
All right, let's go back to Martina. Martina, you were telling us about the cold stores and how this is hitting them.
Yes. So these people bring them in large quantities and they're consistent on and off. This meat goes bad and they have to dispose them. They are unable to restock because they have lost virtually everything they were supposed to sell and make profit. And so they are complaining a lot. That's just one sector. But there are other sectors like those who are into printing, be it T-shirts and books and name them. They also have a big issue because they would need constant electricity to run. And so there are several, even radio stations in the city are having a bite of on the north. And there's this line, the Russia Bangalore line is a very terrible line. You can have on and off literally like 10, 15 times a day. And so if you are on this line and you are running a business, then definitely you have a big problem.
Yeah. It's interesting. Now suddenly, the need for generators and people who service generators has really, really gone up. Martina, are you seeing more and hearing more generators, in people's homes and businesses across the northern region?
Unfortunately, it looks like generators are being expensive to purchase, and so we don't have too many people who are using generators. What we have is when the lights are off, they wait on. So if it's going to take 7 hours, 8 hours, no matter the number of hours it's supposed to take, they would have to wait until the lights are back. And this is definitely affecting a lot of businesses and workplace activities.
Thank you for that, Martina.
All right, so let's go to the Western region where Thalia Kwanzaa is. Ina, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. So tell us the power situation in the Western region.
Well, it's bad when it comes to power here in the Western region. One cannot tell when your light is going off. It goes on and off at any time, midnight, daytime, hours that you least expected that the power would go off. Residents are restless. For people who have businesses, this is affecting their businesses. When it comes to the residential areas too, you speak to them and they tell you that they go to work, there is no power. They come home and there is no power, and so they are not able to have good rest in their houses. Those with babies are making a lot of allegations. here and there. So the power situation, I must say, is very bad here in the Western region.
And talking about the situation being bad, you've talked about businesses, being it. What are the best? I mean, what sort of impact has it had on businesses, and what are the businesses been telling you?
Yes, for them, because most of them use power in conducting some of their businesses. Sometimes they go, you are ready to do business, and then all of a sudden, it's not as if there is a routine that you know that, okay, so this time the light is going off. You are on working, and then immediately the light goes off. They told me it's not easy to raise money to buy generator now. So for some of them, that cannot raise money to buy generators. When the power is off, meaning business is off for that day. And so it affects them when it comes to transacting business and then getting even finances for their business.
So we know that in Accra, the Electricity Company of Ghana, sometimes they talk. You've had ministers make statements. In Takoradi, have you heard, the regional office of, say, the Electricity Company of Ghana saying anything?
None that I know of. I think once or twice I have seen a flyer where they've indicated that there is load shedding, and so these particular areas are going to go off. But apart from the one or two I have seen of these flyers, there is no communique that I am personally aware of.
They haven't talked about any localized problems?
I have not seen that anywhere.
All right, Inathalia Kwanzaa, thank you very much for joining us.
Now, Albert is a man in the Upper East region, and he joins us now. Albert, we know in the Upper East region, the mainstay is agriculture. First, what's the situation of the power there? And secondly, how is it affecting your mainstay?
Yes, Raymond. So, in this region, for many months, it's been the same as we've seen in other parts of the country. So randomly, the power would just go off in certain areas. Others will have power, and then after some time, usually 5 to 6 hours, they'll turn the lights back on. Now, what I have observed is that the PURC in this region created a WhatsApp platform with media and other stakeholders where we are supposed to report faults, electricity outages, problems with water supply and all of that. And this is where a lot of people give the complaints as to when their power goes off. And for the last 2-3 months, it's been like that. Mostly in the afternoon, the lights will just go off and people will send in complaints. And then after some time, they'll report back that their power has been restored. And then some people from other places will start reporting that their power has gone off. It's been like that. But for the last 1 month, it seems to have slowed down a little bit and the complaints have reduced. But people in Fumbisi specifically complain that they have this issue where their power goes off for very long hours. But we've been told that their issue had to do with a transformer there, which is faulty. So that is the complaint that we have. Yesterday, some parts of Bolga, went off in the afternoon. And again, there were complaints on the platform. There hasn't been any specific explanation to this. So normally, it will just go off. And the temperatures here at this time of the year are very high because we are just about getting into the rainy season. But since March, sometimes the temperatures can go up to 45 degrees in the afternoon. So you can imagine when the power goes off at that time. And there are people who are cashing in because they have to sell water and other cold beverages because this time people consume that a lot because of the heat. So when the power goes off, it basically affects such people. And then even for those who do not have, ACs and all of that, you have to manage with your fan. So when the power is taken off, it means you are just going to be sweating in the heat. And so this has been the situation in this region.
Yeah, I've heard of the heat conditions there. The other question, though, is NETCO. You are not under ECG, you're under NETCO. What are they telling you?
Well, there haven't been any official communication from them in terms of why the power is going off. Normally, what the PURC officials do when these complaints, as I talked about, are sent to them, is that they'll forward it to NETCO, and then whatever it is, they'll get back to us. So sometimes they'll say that, there is this fault here, and that is why the power has gone off. Sometimes they don't even give you any explanation. They wait until after about 4 or 5 hours when the lights come back, then they just report back that we've been told by NETCO that power in that area has been restored. So officially, there hasn't been any explanation as to why the outages are happening.
And you mentioned the big problem to do with the weather conditions there. And of course, I've seen a lot of people report that on social media too. Obviously, this will be exacerbated by a lack of electricity supply, wouldn't it?
Exactly, because you need to keep yourself cool. So during the day, for those who have even air conditions, there are people who complain that now they have to pay more for electricity, so they don't even use their air conditioners. So others rely on their ceiling fans, etc. And so when you put out the lights, it basically just means that they have to be suffering until the lights are back. And when it goes off in the night, it's even worse, because then it means you cannot sleep in your room. There are people who sometimes have to come out with mats and mattresses to sleep in their yards or in front of their homes when the power goes off, because you won't be able to sleep in your room because the temperature is very hot. So yes, it's really a problem for many people in this region.
And maybe finally on this one, of course, you heard other people say in other regions that they want a timetable. They want an immediate dispatch of a timetable so that they know how they can plan for it. What's the conversation like in the Upper East region?
Yes, in times past, in this situation of doing so, in the Upper East region, what we observed in the past was that it used not to be so severe in terms of how frequently they were putting the lives off, because of the fact that generally in this region, people, the electricity consumption is not that high. So in the past, you would realize that our situation is a bit better compared to other regions. But this time, it's almost the same, because randomly the lights just go off in many parts of the region, as I said. So people are also asking for this, because at least if you know when the lights are going to go off, then you can plan and know what to do. Maybe keep your food well refrigerated, or maybe get yourself a generator, etc. Yes, so people are also, thinking that if there was a timetable in terms of when the power will go off in what area and return at what time, then it will make life a bit easier, because people would then be able to plan what to do, and wait till their power goes off and all of that.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Albert. Let's now cross over to the other side, to the Upper West Regional capital of Wa, where Rafiq Salam has been standing by. Rafiq, good morning to you.
Good morning, Koyo.
So, what's the conversation in the Upper West region? Is it give us light or give us timetable?
It's about giving us light and also giving us a timetable, because I have the past few weeks I've been speaking to residents of the Upper West region regarding this issue of the brownouts that we are experiencing in the region, and then also about the punishing temperatures that we are having in the region. The meteo somehow a couple of weeks ago recorded temperatures rising up to about 45 degrees Celsius. And so it's really having an effect on the people. I have spoken to several people about this issue of the brownouts. It's not planned. These are unplanned outages that are coming in. Just example, yesterday, around 6:30, between 6:30 and then 9 p.m., my area, the Kumbia area, went off. And then in other parts of the one municipality, they couldn't have the light returned to them till this morning. And so it's really having a lot of effect on the people. Like my colleague in the Upper East region spoke about the punishing temperatures. You just can't sleep in the rooms. But yesterday, I spoke to some people and they told me that at least they were blessed with the rain that really helped them to be able to sleep without fans or air conditioning. If not, apart from that, they are really, really smarting from that brownout. You talk about businesses. Let me even come to students first, about students of SDD Yobet. I spoke to them and they told me about how it's really affected their studies, because there are times that they have to go for lectures or even to study in the night, and this light, went out, and then they have to use lanterns and then even their phone light to study for the next day's paper. And for them, they were saying that as they have a timetable for their examination, they also like government to also come clean and then give them a timetable for the brownout. And also, you talk about businesses. I have spoken to some, secretarial shops, that use secretarial duties for the people, and some printers, and they told me that, you see, they are now paying more for electricity, despite the do so, for what they are having, because their gadgets are being spoiled every now and then. One of them even showed me about two of the photocopier machines that got spoiled as a result of the frequent power outages that we are experiencing. And so for them, they would like government to come clean. They are saying that the issue is not about whether to do unplanned or planned outages, but government is owing the electricity companies, and then they want government to do the needful so that they can have their life back.
Rafiq Salam in Wa, thank you so much for that update. Winston, I mean, it feels like a very horrible deja vu. Like we are. It's like you wake up from a nightmare. You say, "Thank God that was just a dream," and then you realize that no, reality is exactly what you were dreaming of. So we never came away from the hellscape of 2016 and 2015, when the lights were off for 1/3 of the year. We're back.
Well, definitely, yeah, Kojo. Look, I hear people make the point that this is not as worse as it was in the past. But who cares? You see, part of the problem, and today I've been told of how, it's not like we have, we're losing 300 or 400 or megawatts over a long period of time. It's not like we're losing, we have, a specific amount of power that we're losing over a period of time, so we know that we can plan, and it's a difficulty. And I say, look, all of these things you are explaining the problem. Your job is to solve the problem. I say leaders solve problems. They don't explain problems. I mean, this is not an exam that says go and explain problems to somebody. No. You are in leadership. Fix the problem. And listen to them. Look, businesses are suffering. Kojo, it is not easy to be running a business in Ghana at this time. First of all. Yeah. Because these are periods where inflation is very high. 25%, that's very high. Okay? Even access to credit is a problem. You're buying fuel at very high prices. Now, the worst part is that now they're actually adding the challenge of you having to go off. So what it means is that if you are in anything, if you're in the hospitality industry and you are into food, for instance, problem for you. Problem. Today, I have a friend consistently. Listen to this.
Because that theory, right, is that you buy in bulk. So
yes.
Save money. But you buy in bulk and the food
gets spoiled.
Yeah. This guy actually operates, and you see, when he turns on his generator, now he's looking for money to go and buy a bigger generator. Because the generator that he has, when he turns it on, it can't power his freezer. So his meat and everything going bad. Today, if you ask boys to go and sit there and have meat, they won't have it. So that guy is making losses. He's making losses because he's not even raised enough money to go and buy a bigger generator that can power his freezer. And it's not as if this guy can walk to a bank and say, give me money and let me go and buy a generator. They won't give it to him.
And the evidence suggests food is also expensive in the
Very
first place.
expensive. So what do you expect? Now, what do you expect? Let me be very honest with you. Last time, when I was telling you that somebody contacted me, was like, oh, a friend's wife who runs a shop. And he was like, oh, I am a bokado into Yenshe. When we sat down and started calculating, you realize that for the woman to actually make just a small margin of profit, even to break even, she has to reduce the size of the food she's selling. And in order to make profit, she must reduce the size and increase the price. Listen to this.
Yes. Oh, but that's the kinky theory as I know it to be.
You see why today? Look, so that's our problem. And it's like we don't care. You're going to work. People today can't go to work early. Because if you're like me, who irons, on the day of, on the day that I'm going to work.
You're in trouble.
Because then you're like, oh, I don't know what to wear. Sometimes we have to bring our clothes to the office and come and iron them before you come and sit down. The point is this. I am learning also. There are issues to do, a lot of issues. And I want to ask a question before you come in, Raymond. So what is the problem? If it is fuel, why can't we buy the fuel? If it's fuel, why can't we buy it?
At least I pay for my bills.
Yes. If it's fuel, why can't we buy it? At least we have been made to believe, when we went under an IMF program, we were told to pay realistic prices for electricity.
Quarterly increments.
Quarterly increments. So that in itself is an indication that there is no problem. So, when it comes to the price waterfall mechanism, the ECG had indicated how much they're going to earn, except that payments may not have been made as expected. But hey, the long and short is this. I have done my part. I expect the others to do their part. And today, they doing their part is not they telling me that they want to provide a timetable. Okay? They doing their part is telling me that we have enough fuel. Because if we made a lot of lots of conversations about excess capacity.
Yeah.
And today, we are going through challenges because of what? Fuel. So nobody can convince me it is not a financial issue. It is.
There was a time that we didn't have the plants in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You recall, there was a time that we were doing emergency assembling of plants because we didn't have the alternatives on the table in the first place. There was a time that we even said that Akosombo was on the brink of being collapsed because we were putting excess pressure on it. We have said all of these things in the Republic of Ghana. Luckily, today, we are not complaining about water levels at Akosombo. In fact, there is a reason why there was spillage happening a year or so ago. Yes, we are not also complaining about the lack of plants in the Republic of Ghana. So there must be something else wrong somewhere. There were times that we were told that we had to shut down 1 or 2 plants, big-time plants, for servicing and all of those things. And we agreed. We were in tandem. We understood the condition. We are not unreasonable people. So we said, okay, how long is it going to take? Say 2 weeks to 1 month. Some even took up to 2 or 3 months. We were still enduring that. But now, it appears what you are telling us is that there should be fuel that should be bought for some of these plants. And the fuel, somebody should pay for it. When the plants generate electricity, we pay for it. You're not doing it for free. And let's get that straight. You are buying fuel for plants so that when it generates electricity, we pay for it. It's the input you're supposed to make in there. Why are we all having a discussion about your basic role, which you're supposed to play so that I can get my part of it dealt with? We have, in the last year or so, been having a big-time conversation about my role, which is to pay and pay more. And we have agreed on that virtually every quarter, you recall. In fact, it reached the point, there was an estimation by ASEP that within a year or so, over 100% increase in electricity price in this country. I didn't hear any demonstration on that. In fact, we couldn't even complain much because it was all geared towards making that system better. Now we are at the point of better. And yet still, we can't get the power. So, it's a bit confusing to some of us. It's almost as if all the promises you have made about improving the system because of this and that. Don't forget the term, doom CSA. It's only because, and we agreed, and we have no problems with that. That was when they started telling us that our doom is a different doom. And that this doom is for the betterment of the system. Let's agree that was even the basis. What is the justification for this unwarranted and maybe if you want to even call it unplanned outages now? Because now it's become so erratic. It's not even the ones that barely a month ago we were talking about. Because barely a month ago, I could discern a certain trend. That, if I have it, by 6 p.m. I'll have power. But the next morning, they may do that. So I mean, even though you have no timetable out there for me, I could plan with that. But now it's so erratic, you're not even sure whether you should put on the gadget again. And let's also not get it wrong. I mean, may have lost a TV in the process, so it's a bit of a painful kind. People losing their refrigerators at the end of this, and could you have you checked? Even what used to be not a not middle class, a poor person's alternative to a refrigerator, it's now very expensive. All of these gadgets, for some reason, are now priced out of the range of the ordinary person.
Yeah.
I pay my electricity bills. Then, due to your recklessness, I get to have problems with my electrical gadgets. I can't chase you for it. Then there's a conversation about not knowing when it will even end anyway. And so we give you a timetable, as if that's some consolation. How is it even acceptable to any grouping?
Look, you know, this conversation about timetable, it makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, I do generally agree with Mama V's point from earlier that, look, if you can't give us power, the least you can do is tell us when it will go off so that we can do some planning around it. But you see, me, I know these people that call themselves governments. I know them. And every time, government is not interested in solving the problem. They are interested in collecting the funds. So they will do what they think will collect the funds and the problem will not get solved. If we keep calling for the plaster, we will never get the cure. That's my concern. So eventually they'll come and give us a timetable and take their foot off the gas in solving the actual problem. Raymond, we have all been talking about how the thing has what's the word I'm looking for? It has accelerated. The Dumsor has become worse in the past few days. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. In the past week or so, it's become worse. Does it coincide with ECG being told to stop buying fuel? Does it? Because ECG was not supposed to be buying fuel. They were supposed to be following the cash waterfall mechanism. They were sanctioned and told to follow the mechanism and stop buying fuel. Since they stopped, has the correct person started buying fuel? The person who should be buying it, has he started? So why are our lights still off? Why has the correct person not started buying the fuel?
And even on that, we're told there was a meeting with the president. When all these others given not to send power outside the country, all of them were given. And the presumption is that, since that has been done,
the problem is solved.
Yes. So what is currently happening that from that time is gone from what was whichever situation into a terrible one now.
Thank you. So look, as for me, I am very nervous about these calls for a timetable, because I'm worried that the government will give us what we want
and
give us a timetable and then go to sleep, and our lights will remain off because they've told us that the lights are going to go off. They have already thanked us for our patience. Now they are going to tell us that we should just bear it and live with it. After all, we did under Mahama, didn't we? I'm worried.